Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Real Estate Solutions Lab podcast. My name is Tony Cardinelli. I'm your host today. And I have to ask a question. Have you ever thought or asked the question if the idea of flipping houses or buying and then selling the houses after improvements, if that ship has sailed, if all the profits are gone from the world of real estate and it's just impossible to do today? Today we're going to answer that question. I brought with me a good friend and expert in this field, Ed Arriola from Keller Williams and Arriola Capital. He's going to talk to us a little bit about his coaching that he does in this very area as a real estate agent, a general contractor, an expert in flipping houses. He's going to bring us solutions that our audience would love to hear. And if you do have questions, you're welcome to follow up with Ed afterwards. But before we start, I wanted Ed to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about how you got into this business of flipping houses.
Yeah, so I've been a contractor for about 10, 15 years. I lost count.
Yeah.
And just like any other contractor, after a little while, you start to get bored of the routine, of the clientele, of the level of expectations. And that's where most contractors start to get worn out.
Yeah.
And so I decided, I got to do something different. So I partnered up with a real estate agent who, he's into house flipping.
Okay.
He was an investor. He is. So he's still doing. He's a good friend. And decided we're gonna try flipping. We're going to try selling houses. We did a few. Actually, more than a few. At one time, we had 10 flips going at the same time.
Oh, wow.
It was one of those times where I started noticing heart issues. And then we kind of went our separate ways. I figured, he taught me a lot, and I've broke into a really good network of people where I could, I have found all the subs that I needed, which I already had because I've been a contractor for so long.
Right.
And so I started flipping houses, and then one day I said, shoot, I need to get my real estate license so I can save more money, right?
Yeah.
I already save a lot of money by being a contractor.
Yeah.
If only I could be a real estate agent and sell my own house, and that'll help me have the MLS and be able to get more access to houses. Yeah, so, and became a real estate agent.
And a good one.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
To be able to sell my own properties.
Yeah.
And I went into the right place. Donna Millette, she's a real estate agent.
She's great.
And you know her in our office. And she brought me in and she said, hey, I'll coach you. And part of the coaching program is you have to do 3 transactions with Keller Williams to be able to kind of let you go on your own, do your own thing. And I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked helping people buy houses, and I noticed that I had a lot of worth as a contractor to my clients, especially buyers. And the same thing with listing, with sellers, because sellers need work done.
Yeah.
So I kind of took a pivot in my career and said, let me try this out.
Yeah.
And it's way less stressful than house flipping. Then also I could also help flippers with my experience. So I ended up here by pure coincidence, I guess. I mean, I just looked at something that I liked and tried it and kind of focused on it and realized I was pretty good at it. I was Rookie of the Year in our office, Keller Williams.
Yeah.
I think I did 13 or 14 transactions in my first year.
That's great.
Which is not very easy in your first year. And then from there and then on, it just kept going up, and
that's great.
I have my own team now with Arriola Capital. And I love it. I kind of stuck to this and decided I do like the flipping factor as well. So I decided to start coaching. We have about 4 or 5 different flippers that I'm coaching currently, which are doing 3 to 5 transactions per year.
Wow.
So, buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell. And
well, good.
And they're successful. They're making a lot more money than I was when I was flipping too, which is
that's because they have a good coach.
Because they take their own, but they take my advice, right? I wasn't very good at that, taking my own advice.
Well, that leads us to the question: is flipping still profitable in today's market, where house values have climbed so quickly and rates and everything?
Yeah, I think flipping has been a thing that's been done through all the economies, right? And I always tell my mentees the same thing. I say, when you buy high, you sell higher. When you buy low, you sell low.
Yeah.
Right. So the housing price, is kind of, does this, it goes up and down. So does the purchase in every transaction, right? So You'll buy them way lower. And back in, I want to say, 2014, 2015, my brother-in-law bought his house for 40 grand. 40 grand is a single family in Fitchburg. Then I think when he put it on the market, it ended up selling for $400,000.
Wow.
Right? So, and even at that $400,000, if somebody would have bought it in the condition that it was, and they would have put a little more work, they would have still sold it for more and made some profit.
No kidding.
Right? So, in my opinion, my personal opinion, yes, you can flip throughout any market, and even I think it's more beneficial when the market drops.
Right. So you have to look for those drops.
It's more opportunity.
So I have to imagine in our audience today, there's probably a lot of first-time home flippers out there, that are doing this for the first time or considering it. What are some of the biggest mistakes first-time home flippers make when they're considering doing this for the first time?
I think doing it without somebody that's there to back them up, right? I think they need a mentor. I've always had a mentor for everything that I've done. I think that there's a lot of people out there that would they're kind of go-getters, and they would
just go do it.
and if there's a lot of small little things about real estate flipping that most people don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
give us some examples. Like, what are some mistakes
capital
they
gains?
make?
Capital gains.
Yeah.
One of the things that gets a lot of people is they go through the whole process is doing a flip.
Yep.
And they get to the end, and then at the end of the year when they do their taxes, they get a huge surprise, right? And I'm a team person, right? So I always say, build yourself a team. That will be your real estate agent, your contractor, your attorney,
your
CPA, right?
Yep.
You should have those relationships before you even start thinking about doing house flipping.
That's good advice.
I think a lot of people say, I'm going to do it. They have the money, which is great.
Yeah.
They may have a contractor they know, and they'll find a real estate agent. But for flips, you need a good real estate agent. You need somebody who's savvy within that, especially if they're going to help you buy and then sell.
Right.
Because you're going to have to rely on a professional to know what's a good flip.
Right.
Because if you don't have any experience, how would you know? Or how would you know what to fix?
Right.
Right. Well, how would you know if it's profitable? If that's a good market.
That's right. Yeah. That's like underestimating the cost of the renovation that's going to be in front of you.
Right.
By looking
and that can be done. Right. When it comes to that type of stuff, I'm a pessimist.
Yep.
So I'll look at a house with a client, and they'll think it's a great deal, and I'll say, well, it looks great, but you need to add that cushion of a 20%, especially because you're opening walls. Yeah. And unfortunately, Massachusetts code is rough.
Okay.
Right. So like the saying you open it, you own it is 100% true. We were just discussing this with one of the people I'm coaching. He's a great flipper now, but he went into a house where it doesn't need a lot of work. Right. So his plan was to change the plugs in the bedrooms. But there's only one plug. This is a typical thing that most people wouldn't know. Yeah. If you don't have that contractor with you or that electrician that you know that would tell you this, if you touch that plug and you swap it out for a new plug, right? Just a plug. Yeah. And then put a new plug, a new plate, and the electrical inspector sees that, you're gonna have to update the whole run, put plugs every 10 feet or so, to make sure that there's enough plugs, and then you have to put an arc fault breaker new in the panel. Oh, wow. You're talking about something that you said, it'll be only $10 to fix. Right. Now it's $450 to $700.
There you go.
Those are the small things that I tell you that are important for a person who's starting to lean on the professionals to help them and get advice from them to know what should we touch, what should we do, because they don't know that.
They don't.
Right. So now, if you're a contractor, it's slightly different. Yeah. If you're a real estate agent, slightly different. So there's different scenarios depending where you are and who you are.
They might already have an expertise in a certain area, but
or those relationships pre-built, right?
True.
Another relationship that I think is great is knowing somebody like yourself.
Lender, right?
A lender, yeah. Because although you're buying, on the buy side, obviously, it's obvious you need money. On the sell side, you need somebody to help you with strategy, with marketing, and lenders usually, like yourself, help do that. Yeah. So I think that at least those 5 relationships should be a basic like the pillars.
Yeah,
You know,
that gets us started. And it also, you're sort of buying your education by working with a professional first. Yeah, you're going to pay the professional, but holy cow, you're getting an education and you're avoiding pitfalls.
I think your first couple of flips, maybe not
Yeah.
losers, but maybe like low income. Like
Yep.
I have a minimum of $50,000 when I go into a flip.
Okay.
That may not be a thing for somebody for starting with all these relationships, right? So,
Okay.
and some of the guys that I coach that don't have a construction license or real estate license, I usually tell them, please look into getting these things because you're making a career out of this.
Yeah.
And by only having the ability to pull your own permit, you're saving 40%.
Oh, wow.
20 to 40%.
Okay.
Because if you hire a contractor off the street to manage that job, that guy will pull the permit and charge 20 to 40% on top of every sub, when you could just pull your own permit and then hire these subs and manage them.
Makes sense.
And now you're leaving 20 to 40% on the table. That's where your profit is. That's the first place.
So then that leads me to my question. What causes you to, or how do you know, I guess is the question. How would you know if something is a money pit or is going to be a hidden gem? Like, what are you looking for? And what can you tell somebody, your first flipper?
Depends, right? I always tell my first flippers to go with, like we were talking earlier, a lipstick on a pig, right? Like you got to buy something that maybe cosmetic, very cosmetic. I lean towards that when people first start, to have them get a feel of, what it's like to flip a house and the stress that comes with it, right? Because you're owning a whole other property, you have to maintain a whole other property, you have to pay for it, you have to keep the lights on.
Right.
Like it's all these different things. And when it's a quick flip, you're able to do that at a smaller rate. I have one right now that is ongoing, that has been ongoing for 14 months. Right. Wow. We started with, we're going to do a small remodel, and ended up being, and we open up walls, and I'm a little pickier than most people. So, I go a little above and beyond. Yeah. And I know that I can within that property because there is the profit involved. I got it at a really good price. Right. But I guess you just have to know what level of flip you can or project you can grab, and you can start and be able to finish it without having to rip your hairs out.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's going to, separate experienced flippers from brand new flippers. Right. But it does raise a lot of fear, I'd imagine, in first-time flippers, like the unknown, the potential, having to hold a property and running out of money and those sorts of things. Should people be afraid of that, or is there really a way to figure all that out ahead of time?
Yeah. So of course, if you have a good team, a decent real estate agent who can analyze the property and tell you, okay, you're buying it at this price. After you fix it, I've done my homework. This is what it's going to sell for. Yeah. The other thing that most people don't think about that is like the length of time, right? So like if you do comps, you're doing comps 12 months to 6 months ago. Yeah. And the house will sell 6 months to however long it takes. So that first initial estimate of what that flip is going to sell for may not actually be true, depending on how long you take, right? So if I'm looking at comps, I usually look 3 months to 6 months. But if I can't find something, I got to go a little further back. And if you were like, for example, now, 12 months ago, this is not the same market. But if you have a 6-month project, or a 12-month project, we're not looking at anything, maybe not, right? It's kind of tough. So that's something that most people don't think about when they're pulling comps and looking at properties. It's like, how long is it going to take you? And this is what I tell my guys. At the speed that you go is what's going to delegate how much money you make. Because it's not the same thing to make $50,000 in 2 to 3 months than $50,000 in 12 months. Go get a job, right? Like it's not.
And that's because of carrying costs or
holding costs. I mean, especially if you're not buying cash, right? I think it's definitely a big factor. Most people are not buying cash. Yeah. Especially first time flippers. Usually they go with a hard money lender or a regular lender.
Yeah, we do fix and flip loans. 25% down.
Yeah. That's nice.
Interesting. So how much, actually, it's a good question. How much money, other than knowing that you need 20 to 25% down to just get a fix and flip loan, how much money do you really need to flip a house the right way, sort of as reserves? Like, do you have a minimum standard that you suggest for people?
Yeah, it depends, right? I think hard money is a little more expensive. You tell me, right? More expensive than product that you might have.
Probably.
If I'm used to doing hard money, so usually I would say in the area that we're in, the typical flip starts somewhere around 250,000. You're talking, you got to put about 60, between 45 to 60 down.
Yep. That's down, and then start fixing it.
Right. So most of those, right. So you'll need something to get you started.
Yep.
If you're doing draws with the bank. Because most people don't know this, is they think they're borrowing the money and they're going to get it the first day of the flip. They don't. You have to get to a certain point.
Right.
And so, yeah, you need that initial money to be able, and I would say like 20,000 more will get you there.
Right.
What I usually tell people, and I'm sure this was your next question, there's ways to get around having to have all that money, right? If you're like really want to flip, maybe you're a contractor, maybe you're a real estate agent, somewhere who can add some value to somebody else. I usually say, like, find a contractor who's willing to, help with the construction and partner up. That's how you would do. Yeah. That's how you would come up with less money, right? Like, you split it down half. Yeah. You're a real estate agent. He's a contractor. You each handle your side of the deal. Yep. And you split it down the middle, or plus or minus, right?
Right. Some percentage of the profits.
There's plenty of investors out there right now. Everybody's super cash heavy nowadays. I think it's because they're paying off their houses. Yep. A lot of people paying off their houses. I don't know if you're noticing that right now. Yeah. So there's a lot of cash buyers and stuff, and people who have a ton of cash and they don't know what to do with it. I'd knock on those doors and say, hey, would you like to make some money on your money? Got it. And what I would say is I'd go up to somebody and say, hey, if you lend me $100,000 to get started on a flip, I'll handle the whole thing. I'll pay you 10% monthly, and then you'll get 25% of the back end of the deal.
Got it.
Right? And Very cool. And we'll do a contract.
You're finding investors then.
Essentially, I don't like going to an investor, because an investor's going to want to take all the profit, right? Yeah. So what I go to, I like, if I were advising somebody, go to somebody who who you have a relationship with, who has got some cash, who wants to make money with their money. Yep. Right. Of course, an investor will work, but it's just an investor usually is a lot more savvy, and they start to take a little more than 25%, right? Yeah, 50-50. I'm putting the deposits down, right? Right, so, right. Okay. But that's a good way to start if you don't have any money. Yeah. And that's how I started. Yeah. I didn't have a dime when Brian, my partner, came up to me. He's like, "You got all the construction knowledge. That's gold." Nice. He's like, "Let's build a company together. I'll put up the money. You just handle the construction, and then we'll split the profit." And to me, that was perfect. I was like, all right, yeah, let's go. I want to get into this. I love it. It was like going to school again. Yeah, I love it. A lot of learning when it came to. Oh, I bet. To real estate. I bet. I mean, I think so. I think back some of the flips that we've helped investors with. When we're doing, and it goes for renovation financing as well. You're going to do a loan. The loan that is done, that is given to the buyer to purchase and renovate the home, is a loan against the after improved value of the home. So you do need a professional that can give you an estimate of what the future value of the home is going to be after the repair. And you're going to take 75% of that, and that's your loan. And some of that leftover money after you acquire the property with your loan is the flip money. And you're going to have some down payment requirement. But that's how we've seen most of the flippers. And you could be a first-time flipper and get these loans. Most of them are experienced flippers. These investors that we go to, they want to see, a year or two. They want to understand the LLC, what they've got set up for business backing. So very good question. If you've already started to answer part of this question, but let me ask you, if someone in your database reached out to you and said, I saw your podcast, I want to start flipping houses, you did say, build a team first, obviously, and that's obviously step one, perhaps. But what would be step 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6? Like, what are the real fundamental steps that somebody needs to do to be able to identify opportunities and take advantage? So, with me, is step 1 is 1 through 6, right?
Yeah.
Because I make it my job as a real estate agent to be able to hold their hand through the whole project,
Yeah.
right? So I'll say, hey, you want to? The most important thing is where's the cash coming from,
Yep.
right? And obviously get
Know your
pre-qualify,
numbers.
right?
Yeah.
Know your numbers.
Yep.
And then I think finding the property is the last thing I usually say.
Wow.
You know, I usually say, make sure you have the right team. Let's sit down and talk. You're hiring me as your agent. I'll kind of gauge what construction knowledge they have
Yep.
to see what support they're going to need. You know, because I can be very supportive and be there, pull the permits for them, and they won't. I usually don't charge for that. What I do is I'll charge in the back end of the listing sale.
Okay.
And I mean, it's pretty simple, you know, as far as whether they know or don't know construction is how involved I'm going to be.
Yep.
And whatever I tack on the back end, which is usually like a point on the sale.
Yep.
It doesn't even compare to what a contractor will charge them to do the same thing, right?
Right.
It's not going to be 20-40% of the project.
Right.
So most people like that.
That is cool.
But I'll also say, hey, like you're going to be responsible for this whole, I'll pull the permits, but you're the contractor.
Yeah.
I'm just coaching you through this, right? And I'm making sure that you're meeting code on this property, that, you know, we meet the inspectors, all the above, right? But I think to get to that point, we need to know how much cash we have or figure out who, because sometimes I'll match people.
Yep.
I have somebody
Yep.
who has cash. It will say, I'm looking for somebody who wants to do the sweat equity part of the deal. So I'll see what the situation is, who I can pair them with.
Yeah.
And if it's just somebody who says, hey, I'm ready, I got the cash, I'm pre-approved. Then we start searching. Yeah, all right. So who do you know? Do you have do you know electrician, plumber, blah? No, I don't. Okay, I got you. These are three subs that I know for plumbing. These are 3 subs that I know for electrician, flooring. All the guys, you deal with them. You pay them directly. They're gonna give you a good deal because I'm gonna call them and say, this is my client. This is a flip.
Yep.
So the way we work with our subs is I'm constantly getting them business. Anything that's retail is game on for them.
Yep.
Go charge whatever you charge in that area as a retail client. If I sent you a flipper, you gotta charge them what you would charge me.
Right.
And that's a big substantial
Yeah,
difference,
that's great.
right? So they get that as well. But to answer your question, it's all one big blur for that first
For the first few.
because we just gotta gauge where you're at.
Yeah.
You know, what your knowledge is. And if you're starting at 0, then that means I'm gonna be very involved with the
Yeah.
project,
Yeah.
which I'm fine with, you know. But if you have like a little, you know, network and you have your own plumber that you've used and you want to do these things, I don't have to control that.
Right.
That's you, and you got that. We'll move on to the next part. Then we do the house searching, right? Like gauging how much you know, what team you have,
Yep.
is whether we're gonna go with a full gut or, you know, the house that just needs, you
Yep.
know. And your level of comfortability. How comfortable are you picking up a 6-month project versus something that you can sell in 2 months, you know? So it's depends on really how ready the person is.
Got it. And how do you coach them on an exit strategy down the road? Like how do they know how much they should do on the property before it'll be market ready? You've already mentioned don't fix that plug over there because it's going to open up a problem.
Yeah, so we do a full walkthrough.
Okay.
There's a program that we use, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name in this.
Doesn't
It's
matter.
called Rehab Valuator.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
No.
Rehab Valuator is great. It's great because it gives you essentially everything you need to know about a flip, from lending to construction
Neat.
and closing costs.
Yeah.
So basically, you punch in all your numbers, and it poops out. It poops out your profit.
Oh, perfect.
But it has every single line item that you're gonna go, every expense you're gonna go through. It's in there, right?
That's cool.
So the way you start is, I'm gonna buy this property for this much.
Yep.
This is the closing costs.
Yep.
These are my points that I have to pay for my lender.
Yep.
Lender fees. It goes from there, goes to holding fees, and then construction budget, and then sale fees, right?
Yeah.
And then it'll say profit. I love that because one, it gives you those are numbers that I myself still don't know after doing so many flips, right? It's hard. It's hard to keep track of everything on a piece of paper or on a spreadsheet. I know plenty of people who love spreadsheets, and I have one of my clients who's a whiz on it, but he's, you know, he could have been an engineer, you know?
Right.
But for regular old, like, dumber people like me, I need something that's more visual, that I can keep track of and kind of put it all together before I even make an offer.
There's an app for that then.
Yeah, Rehab Valuer. It's a great app. It's free. If you do the, you could do a paid version that allows you to grab your construction budget and itemize it.
Okay.
Which is great. I don't use that. I itemize on QuickBooks.
Okay.
I run everything through QuickBooks, right? But for that app is the way it's built is beautiful. And then what I do is I go to QuickBooks for my rehab budget. I print it out and just keep it.
Nice.
But if you want to, I think it's $1 a day, so $365 a year you pay, and you have this thing that every time you get a deal, you punch it in and you know what you're gonna make.
Right.
So like that's the most important. The visual of like, okay, so this is what it's gonna cost me. The lender said this much. The construction budget is this much. This is what my real estate agent's gonna charge me, right? You have all the numbers there. This is how much cash I'm putting into the deal.
Yep.
So at the end, it tells you how much, like it does the math difference of how much you've put in, and because most people like don't even know that. Most people says like, oh yeah, that's right. I put 30,000. Does that count towards the? Yes, that's part of your profit. That's not part of your profit. That's what you put in. So you got to return that to the bank, and then, right? That's a really good app to get you started.
But you can get a lot of the components to that worked out ahead of time. You know, what is the real estate agent going to cost? What is the contractor going to cost as a percentage of the total investment? But they'll still need to sit with a GC to say, what do I have to do to this place?
And unfortunately, you know what? You want to hear the worst part is since COVID, and it's slowing down a little bit. But the last 5 to 6 years, you weren't able to you didn't have that luxury. A house went on the market that was a potential flip.
Yep.
You went to go see it, and that was the one time you were going to go see it, and it went on the contract within 2 days, or even that same day. So we had to adjust a lot. My clients, we had to make it work so they knew the numbers. Like, so a lot of the stuff that we go through, me and my client, is, okay, what is the electrician going to charge per room?
Yep.
What does it cost to paint one room? What does it cost for a bathroom? What's the cost per fixture for a plumber? So I kind of give them the rundown of all that stuff so that they can write it down. Sometimes I give them a spreadsheet of that stuff so that they can go in there and do their own math, get an idea, because they'll go to a house, an open house or something, they'll see it and they'll say, oh, I want to bring in the plumber, the electrician, the flooring guy. By the time they brought the plumber, the house is gone, right? So back before then, you were able to do that because the house just sat in the market. It was a buyer's market, you know? So we had to adjust to that, because when I did most of my flips, it was easy. It was,
Well, how do you adjust to that? Like, how do you adjust to a market that moves so fast you don't have time?
By knowing more knowledge.
Okay.
Right? So by having those relationships with your electrician and plumber where you can call them and say, hey, like, what does it cost to do this? Or, hey, here's a Zoom. This is like what we're doing. Or saying, hey, can you sit down with me and give me the rundown of how you charge in this area to your plumber?
Yeah.
Plumbers are easy. $1,500 per fixture. There's 3 fixtures in the bathroom. $4,500.
Okay.
Right? Of course, deeper projects have more, right? This could be asbestos. It could be things you don't know, right? So if you're new, don't get into those houses.
Right.
My advice, right? Or just have enough cushion to be able to say, okay, we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
But I like to lean towards knowledge more, especially because most of these people are putting all
having knowledge.
Having knowledge.
Gaining, building it beforehand.
And you can only do that by building those relationships within your network.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, ChatGPT and Google might help you, but it's not going to be, you might get a surprise when the plumber comes in. It's better to have those guys on speed dial and say, hey, man, what do you think this is? Or
just call Ed. Ed, I'd like you to take me out and start looking at some houses.
I got a couple clients who are like that, and I'm a listing agent, right? But I'm a buyer's agent for all my flippers, of course.
Right.
I could send my wife, Sarah. She's we've been together forever. She's been involved in my construction business. So, but they like me going, of course, and I understand why, which makes me feel better about, helping them through the flip, right? There's I got two couples that buy houses on auctions, which is a huge plus.
Yeah.
They're killing it.
Nice.
But they're buying houses without consulting with me first.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, they're knowledgeable, but it scares me a little bit. It's a little less control on my end on that part. And some houses are like, holy crap, there's a lot of work here.
To work.
Yeah, you gotta do a lot of work here. But they handle it. They handle it well. So yeah.
Very good. Well, Ed, this was fantastic. I think we could talk for another hour and a half about all the different, different things. We could talk about specific deals, creative financing, long and short-term flips. I'm sure there's lots more to talk about. So I hope we can have you back as a guest someday.
Yeah, we'll do it.
How do people get a hold of you? First of all, coaching and as a realtor, if they want to list and sell their home.
I don't want people not thinking that I don't sell regular houses.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
My specialty, I'm a luxury agent too.
Okay.
So pretty much in the North Central, maybe up to the north end of Mass. Sometimes I go to Peabody and those areas, but I do both things. I do a lot of flipping. I do a lot of regular sales as well.
Nice.
I do tend to get I guess people think that I'm more just leaning towards investment, but I do both. But as far as investing go, they can call me. My number is 978-401-5273. That's the best way to get at me. On email is at Arriola@kw.com, Facebook at Arriola, Instagram, Realtor at Arriola. It's just really
all
simple.
there. All right, good. Well, we'll put that in our show notes. And thank you very much for coming out today. Any parting comments or anything else you can share?
No, I mean, if you wanna get into investing, don't wait. Things will get. I think the real estate market is about to get a little sassier.
Yes, it is.
But that just means opportunity for people.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to get into it, start now so that when things get rough for everybody else, you're running in, right? That's one thing that I like about Warren Buffett. And it says when everybody is cashing out, I'm going right in. And that's how I've been doing my investing, and it works out.
Fantastic. Well, that is all we have for today. Folks, thank you for joining us on the Real Estate Solutions Lab. Again, Ed Arriola from Arriola Capital. If you want, and KW, if you do want to list or sell your home, great real estate agent here. I've worked with Ed before as a lender. And of course, if you're going to be looking into a flip and you want to get some coaching on that, I encourage you to reach out. I hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you next time. Take care.
All
right.